sant yàlla.
looy xaar utal Wave nga scan nga fay te nag doo ci yokku dara.
Darboe, the company, have filling stations across the country, and our rates are relatively cheaper than anyone else across the country. Jar Oil is the biggest producer and distributor of cement in the country with the most competitive prices in the market.
In the Gambia, we all move to different paces. Time is money, convenience is power, and now both are in your hands. No more long lines, no more late payments, no more missed chances. Not anymore. Because now the Gambia has its own super app, Zap. One app, one tap, endless convenience. Send money instantly, pay your bills in seconds, shop without borders, pay your rides, order your meal, buy your ticket, deposit and withdraw money for absolutely free. No extra charges, no hidden fees, only on Zap Super App. This is not just convenience. This is confidence. This is the future in your hands. And the best part, Zap is born right here. Built for us, designed for every Gambian home, every Gambian dream. So don't wait in the past. Step into the future. Download Zap today on App Store and Play Store and enjoy endless free services. Call us today on our toll-free number 1666 or on 260-0001. Zap, all in one, all for you. Tap in, zap in.
We begin with lawyer Lamin Darboe making his first appearance since assuming leadership of the National Unity Party, the NUP, after the sudden passing of Abdoulaye Jammeh. From his vision for the NUP to his plans for election 2026, we'll explore over the next hour or so what Lamin Darboe's leadership means for Gambian politics and the road ahead. Lamin, welcome back to Coffee Time with Peter Gomez.
Thank you, Peter.
And before we get into the substance of our conversation, let me first extend our condolences on the passing of Abdoulaye Jammeh. I was very close to him, the founding Secretary General of your new party, the NUP. His sudden demise must have been a shock, and I suppose you're still trying to recover from it. We recognize the weight of stepping into leadership at such a moment. How are you dealing with it all?
Well, the party still remembers Abdoulaye very fondly, and the party is very grateful for all that he did for the NUP, having come in and contested the 2021 elections within a very short period of time. He did what he could, and the party remembers him at every moment, really. Yeah.
And how did the party approach you to assume leadership, and what convinced you to accept? Because you had just exited the UDP at the time.
Yes. One day I was at the High Court and I saw this number calling me incessantly. So I sent a text message to the person to say, send me a text, I'm in court. And so he said he's Abdoulaye Gassama of the NUP and he wants to speak to me. Said, okay, as soon as I get out of court, I'll return your call. So it was very sudden. I wasn't expecting it at all. But then it happened. So they said since the passing of Abdoulaye, they were thinking of a replacement for him because at NUP the policy is that the founders of the party must not aspire to the leadership of the party. Abdoulaye was the party leader and secretary general, but he was recruited like I was recruited. Oh. Yes, he was headhunted. And so, yeah, he did what he could under the circumstances. And I guess we sometimes expect that to happen to people were either unwell or very old.
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't think that's the way it works. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
Well, definitely, sadly, not in his case.
yes, absolutely.
So you never had any prior association or collaboration with the NUP before, this call came through?
No, not at all.
Interesting.
I was very surprised. They said they look at the backgrounds of the potentials, so some were not in the country. But among those who were in the country, they checked everything, including your attitude, whether you are somebody who insults people in public debates and things like that. So that's very important.
I know somebody who does.
So they told me eventually that if I was that person, I wouldn't have been contacted.
You would have been contacted in the first place.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And what legacy of Abdullah do you feel most responsible to carry forward?
Well, the legacy is to this legacy is to build the party, to approach the grassroots, and make sure they are ready to support the NUP. It's not easy, obviously. That is going to be a challenge because politics in the Gambia is money intensive. Unfortunately.
Yes. I have no chance of ever entering politics because if there's anything I don't have, it's money.
Well, no one has money.
No, lawyers have money.
No, not at all. I wouldn't be able to fund the NUP from my own funds. That's not possible. There is a lot of funding to do. Yeah.
So it's called the National Unity Party.
Yes.
What does unity mean in the context of Gambian politics today, and how does the NUP embody it?
Well, I think unity as far as the NUP is concerned, is to embrace diversity, to know, to appreciate that in this country, no one dominates. You may have the feeling of dominance, the fantasy of dominance, but in reality, Gambia has come of age in the sense of awareness. Yes, so people may not be aware in the way they do things, but when you want to impose yourself on them in a way that is unacceptable, then obviously that wouldn't happen. It wouldn't materialize for you. So in the context of the NUP, the fundamental idea is to embrace diversity in all its facets, be it religion, be it ethnicity, be it regional background, and anything that would bring cohesion to our national conversations is something that the NUP pursues religiously. Yeah.
In your campaign launch, you described the event as the opening salvo of election 2026. What makes this election, presidential 2026, different from past contests?
Well, I guess in the geopolitics of it, if you can use geopolitics for one country, but geopolitics in the context of party politics, we'll be witnessing emerging trends. The 2021 figures, as far as I am concerned, are not relevant. This election is going to engage people like no other.
So nobody should rely on the past. The
No.
winner should not say, oh, I got 52, almost 53% of the vote last time, and I'll, build on that.
Nobody should rely on the past because the dynamics is such that if you can have certain parties together that may not necessarily be regarded as the big elephants in the electoral or the political space, and they do it carefully, yes, you can upset the incumbent, and you can upset even the incumbent. And if there is the potential to upset the incumbent, then you can defeat any other party.
And as a lawyer, you've said the adherence to the rule of law is the foundation on which nations survive or collapse.
Absolutely.
So how does that principle shape your presidential bid?
In fact, for me, that is the central pillar of my agenda. Because you can say, okay, I'm going to build schools. You can say, I'm going to do this for the health sector. You can
which
say...
which the incumbent is saying and doing.
Yes. For the health sector, you can say, I want to do this for agriculture. You can say all of those things, but those are statements. Those are visions. Maybe money will come for some aspect of enhancement to happen in those particular departments. But the fact of the matter is, without governance controlling everything, how those projects are then operationalized, there is no way that you can truly develop. Because the rule of law, transparency, if you like, it opens up this space. There will be no dark spaces. We want people to know whatever is happening. Yes, except maybe for serious national security issues. We don't expect those to come to the fore of national discussions. That would be unrealistic. But other than that, other than serious national security issues, if you have an education budget, we want to know where that money is going to, where it is coming from, and where it is going to. We don't want you hiding it under your table here and plucking it out bit by bit without, a holistic program that people can look at and understand. So that is what we are trying to say. We are trying to say nobody should be above the law. Everybody should be under the law. Yes, you are the president. That comes with privileges. It comes with responsibilities. And we accept that those responsibilities, those privileges should be executed as much as possible. But
so what is the situation as far as the Gambia is concerned with regard to adherence, to the rule of law? Is the president under the laws, or you feel he's above the law somehow?
Well, I think in our country we accept that as a general proposition, maybe unstated, but if you look at how things happen in public affairs, in public life, then you accept the possibility that the president can or is somehow above the law. Because if you do things, we want to know the reasons why you do them. You cannot say, I am the president. Say, for example, if you look at...
I like examples, yes.
Yeah. The president made it clear that at the Alcalos, the CFOs, will all be campaigning for him. They should not be campaigning for the president. That is not the fundamental underlying rationale for creating those offices. They should not, under any circumstances, be campaigning for the president. But if you don't campaign for the president, then obviously you will be given your marching orders. That is unfortunate. If you are a public servant, you can do whatever you want to do, as far as it is seen, or as long as it is seen as enhancing the president's agenda. But if you do that for the opposition, you'll be out of government when it becomes unacceptable.
Well, we had the case of an Alcalo allegedly being removed, temporary as the removal might have been, for simply welcoming members of the opposition to his village.
Well, I told my party members that if we are campaigning from door to door, from community to community, do not take any kola nuts to Alcalos, do not take any kola nuts to chiefs. The reason is simple. If they are known to accept those things from you, to welcome you into the community, there is a possibility they could lose their job.
Yeah, but that's not your fault. I mean, this is a traditional courtesy that we show. You arrive in a village, you know, the kola nut is what we used to greet the elder, you know, whether they are the village head or whatever. Isn't that so? Particularly, you know, in your community, the Mandinka community.
Yes, that is the truth, obviously. But if you look at the president's statement, you know very well what he means without stating it. Del Carlo should not come.
Well, if you allow him to get away with that, the next thing he might say is, well, okay, I'm waiting for any radio station that now invites the opposition, and then that denies me the privilege of sitting with Lamin Darboe as I am now to have a conversation.
Well,
so let's allow your people to take their kola nuts to the chiefs or the Alkalulu or whoever.
No. I think there is a disparity in the relationship. You are an independent radio station. If the president targets the radio stations in that way, it's going to generate trigger.
But it is just hypothetical. Huh?
Yeah, hypothetical, yes. It's going to trigger an upheaval in the country. That would not be accepted. But we see chiefs and alcalos as appointees of the president. And if you look at the legal framework, including the Constitution, there appears to be a justification for the president to do that. So it's just implementing the law in a manner that that kind of satisfies the wishes of the incumbent president. By the way, it's not the current president alone. These things do
this
happen.
did not start in 2017.
No, it didn't. It didn't start in 2017. So, and this is the why we concentrate on governance. If these institutions are going to exist, then they exist independent of the control of the presidency. Whoever is president must operate within the boundaries of your authority. Yes.
Let's talk about the Cyprus poll. I'm sure you have shared your opinion on the outcome, the findings elsewhere. What do you make of the Cyprus poll?
Well, there are polls and then there are elections. We will take a message to the people. And we believe at the levels we are operating now, those the reactions we are getting are very, very different from what the Cyprus poll is trying to portray. So it wouldn't discourage us. Maybe the polls would change when they see the reality as we approach December 5th. Yes, I mean, there is a lot of ground to cover. There is a lot of convincing to do, and we are convinced a lot of people would change their minds over time. Yes.
One huge positive I'm sure you would have taken from the poll is where it suggests that Gambians are hungry for generational change and skeptical of established leaders. So how does NUP plan to harness that sentiment?
Well, like for example, we are here talking to Peter, and through Peter, the country. So hopefully that would that would convince some people that to be in politics, party politics, for 10, 20, 30, 40 years is not necessarily the gateway to the State House. Yeah, we've seen what happened in Senegal. The dynamics may be a little different, but some of the veteran politicians who were, in the Senegalese political space for some 30, 40 years got nothing. 1% of a poll is nothing. And things like that happen. So I believe the country is yearning for people with vision, potential presidents with vision, with ideas. And so that is going to be very fundamental. That's why I say there's a big sea change, now in the country with the advent of the internet. You don't have to go to university unless, of course, you want to get certificates. But you can really educate yourself in any aspect of life. But of course, people prefer certification. You want to be able to say, okay, I have this. If somebody says, it's a non-entity, doesn't know what he's talking about, you can then produce those certificates. But the reason why I say people are very aware, yes, they will go for the average politicians, for the average candidates, if there are no options, and they are really committed to voting. But I think they will be offered a full menu of politicians in 2026. Yeah.
More than 6 decades after we gained our independence, after we became an independence state, you warn that the Gambia still stands on quicksand, to use your expression. What specific reforms do you believe are most urgent?
Well, we have the resources. Every country has resources with which to develop itself. We have the human resources, people with great ideas, who can then harness those ideas, of course, as entrepreneurs, as engineers, as technicians in the different areas, harness those ideas in the best interest of themselves and the country. But 61 years of independence, a 61-year-old child, I mean...
Well, they can't be called a child.
So,
they can't be called a child again when they become 61.
Yes, but in our reality, we are talking about the realities of the public space in the Gambia. In that reality, we are still a child. Now, look at ministers, senior government officers driving in $4, $5, $6, $8 million cars. If you need a laptop, if you need a printer, you go to the UNDP to beg for those. You go to the European Union to beg for those. You go to the USAID, of course, before and after Trump, it will still be available.
Trump has made sure that they don't go to USAID anymore.
It's part of the diplomatic software of the United States. So it will continue to assist other countries. This is just, it's an interval. It's an interval that is part of the diplomatic tool of the United States. It's part of the soft power of the country. If you need a vote at the United Nations or some other international agency, you can call the president and say, well, you recall we did this for you, and we can do more. So obviously, we shouldn't be accepting these donations, especially donations that are less than $100,000 from international organizations or other nations. You call them development partners. You're not a partner, you're just begging.
Oh.
Yeah. What is the partnership there? You are supposed to contribute in a partnership. If you always go and beg, why are you calling yourself a partner to the person you are begging from every day? There's no partnership in
So how do you characterize them if they are not development partners?
Well, there are sources of funding for wastage. Sometimes I wonder
Sustainers?
why. Yeah. Well, that is probably more charitable, but we'll take sustainers in order not to be too controversial. But I believe an independent country like the Gambia should be able to fund its own development activities. Where you cannot do that because of the capital intensiveness of the project, then obviously you can explore other opportunities. But the wastage in this country, Peter, is just too much. If you are going to the United Nations, you go to the United Nations with people who cannot understand what has been said at the United Nations. Would probably, I'm talking about the General Assembly.
Yes.
Here. Yes. Yeah. Why do they go? Yes. Political patronage is acceptable to some degree within the parameters of government and governance. Yes. You cannot remove it altogether, but you have to do it within reason. It has to be acceptable, and that is what is lacking in the Gambia.
Mm-hmm. So what will you do if you came to power with all the $8 million plus cars that you highlighted earlier, given that the country to go on still depends on handouts from donors?
Yes.
Development partners. I know you hate the expression, but that's what they are officially.
No, they're not development partners. We just go and beg from them. But coming back to the $8 million cars,
because there's a huge fleet of them out there.
Yeah, the $4 million cars and things like that. You allow that for the highest echelons of government, maybe for the president, obviously. The president is the image of the country. Yeah, so obviously international VIPs will be visiting the Gambia from time to time. So, yeah, we need to have a fleet of vehicles befitting of their status. But if they accept, if they understand that this is a country that is trying to come out of the dependence that many of these African countries are addicted to, and so all they have is $1 million cars, well, they wouldn't complain.
I don't think
Yeah,
so.
of course there has to be a security aspect to it.
You wouldn't welcome a Donald Trump though in those circumstances. A Donald Trump, in a $2 million car, you think he would ride one?
No, I
well, they
wouldn't.
always fly their beast around, don't
Yes.
they? Wherever they go. So
Well,
he would come with his own
Yeah,
transport.
well, the United States, of course, is a different country. And the reason why that happens is because the American president is a target around the world, even in friendly countries.
Ah.
So say for example, if Donald Trump goes to the UK on a state visit, the UK would go out of its way to protect him.
Sure.
Yeah, but you never know. You never know. When JFK visited Buckingham Palace, shortly before his assassination, I think it was about 8 weeks before his assassination, he was conversing with his daughter, then a very, very young girl, no more than 6 years, I don't think. And he said, no matter how much you protect yourself, if somebody is committed to getting you, there is a possibility that at some point someone will be able to get
Absolutely.
you. And 7 weeks later, he was assassinated.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
we saw that again in the example of Indira Gandhi.
Yes, absolutely.
So
Yeah.
that's
So
absolutely
this is the reason why you don't want to be responsible. Do what you have to do, but in terms of vehicles and things like that, that is the security advice. It's part of the security mechanism of the U.S. system itself. So they take no chance.
Okay.
If you say you're not coming here with your best, then there'll be no Donald Trump in your country. Yeah.
Absolutely. He can keep his distance for now.
Absolutely.
On Tuesday, the 17th of February, 2026, you're with Coffee Time with Peter Gomez, and joining me is Lamin. Darboe is the leader of the National Unity Party. What are the core pillars of the NUP's manifesto? And how do they differ from the ruling coalition's agenda, for instance?
Well, is there a ruling coalition?
Isn't there? There's NPP, it's joined in government by NRP, it's joined in government by GPDP, and so on and so forth.
Okay, okay.
Isn't that a ruling coalition? Does that not qualify to be called a ruling coalition?
Well, if we don't want to be too argumentative about it, we can accept it.
All right,
Yeah,
so let's talk about your party, the pillars of the NUP's manifesto.
Well, we have one central pillar, that is governance. From that pillar, because I believe, and the NUP believes, that if you succeed in the area of governance, then you succeed everywhere. For example, I, in my engagements with the police, from time to time, I do write letters to them.
As part of your legal profession?
Yes, but those letters are not acknowledged in writing, never acknowledged in writing. So that is governance. The Office of the Inspector General of Police should be open to everybody. You want to engage with people. And these are not political issues anyway. They are legal issues that may be uncomfortable to them. But at the end of the day, you are just managing the disputes that come to your table. You are not part of those disputes most of the time. Say the Sanyang Ecology is a community asset in Sanyang. It got burned down about 2 months ago. Still, the police did not investigate the matter. The fire service did not investigate the matter. Yes. And it's a community asset. So a crime is reported, a potential crime is reported to you, and you did nothing about it. Both the fire service should go there and investigate, if nothing else, at least their understanding of the causes of the fire. That is a mandate on them. Whether somebody opposes it or not is immaterial. It's just like committing a crime and saying that the police must not investigate you. I mean, that is a fantasy. If you refuse to open your doors, the police will break your doors down and get in and do its work or their work. So this is what we mean. People should have trust and confidence in those who govern them. Yeah. So this is why I said, if governance collapses, then everything else around government collapses with it. There'll be no transparency.